Awesome. Well, I'm going to make sure I speak for no more than 5 minutes, because I don't want to keep you guys from what you have to do today. But my name's Emily Wilson. I work for Local Land Services as the Natural Capital Advisor, which I sit in the ag team, and I have a bit more of a focus on carbon, emissions, markets, on-farm biodiversity, and how we sort of leverage our natural capital or our natural assets on farm to bring in production benefit or market access benefit or tap into new capital streams. So we got this funding for this event today through a New South Wales department, which is the PIPAP department, the Primary Industries and Production and Abatement Program, which basically just says they're looking at ways to decarbonise or look at carbon abatement in agriculture in New South Wales and still maintain production. So I'm just going to relate what we've talked about today back to carbon. So if we just go through, I'll just talk quickly about like the sort of opportunities on farm, where to from here, and the carbon credit side of things. So just to go back really quickly, we've seen this I think twice so far, so it's obviously a good diagram, but the normal carbon cycle, when we sort of trees taking carbon into biomass and then it gets decomposed and most of it goes back to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. When we do make biochar, we're capturing around 50% or more of that carbon in a permanent form. And so that's where we're, I guess, getting that carbon storage benefit or that lowering of emissions into the atmosphere. Next slide. So when we think about relating it back to on-farm carbon, there's, I guess, 3 main ways that we've sort of thought about doing that today. So we can use it on-farm to lower emissions, either from our ruminant animals or through lowering soil emissions of methane and nitrous oxide. And when we do that, we also get those production benefits. So that's just using it on farm for production benefits and the other benefits it brings us, but that also has this sort of carbon impact, which is beneficial. When we're calculating our on-farm emissions, at the moment, most of the online tools that we can use to sort of estimate our carbon emissions won't really be able to take this into account at the moment, but we know that we're having a benefit and there's research showing that, and there's a lot of research happening at the background at the government level to sort of quantify that so that it can flow into the tools when we're looking at our on-farm emissions. We can also use biochar in soil to increase soil carbon and fertility, and we can also use it in soil carbon projects. So when we're trying to create a carbon credit from storing more carbon in the soil. And then we can also think of the carbon that's actually in biochar, and when we produce biochar, we can also produce a carbon credit that represents those emissions that didn't end up going into the atmosphere, and then that's something that we can monetize as well. So if you step through. So just with biochar use in soil carbon projects. So a soil carbon project aims to increase the amount of carbon that's stored in your soil over 25 years, and generally we'll measure that through direct measurements, through soil sampling and measuring the carbon there. So biochar application is an eligible activity for a soil carbon project. So when you have a soil carbon project, you have to do an activity that you think is going to increase carbon. We've heard from Melissa about how biochar can have a negative priming effect and end up increasing our soil carbon over time. So we can do it as part of a soil carbon project. When you do this, you have to deduct the carbon that was in the biochar you put on out of any change in your carbon stock. So if you put on a tonne of carbon per hectare of biochar and you got 3 tonnes of increase in soil carbon, then 1 tonne of that's going to be deducted out because 1 tonne of that was what you put in on as part of the biochar. There are some limitations to how much biochar you can apply. So you can only apply it at 100 kilograms per hectare per year unless it's produced from within your own carbon project, so unless it's produced using biomass from your farm or from your project, or unless it's from a designated waste stream. So that would be something like Northeast Water, Nice Rice, if they get a nice biochar facility up and running, that would be a designated waste stream because then you're not taking carbon from somewhere else and that wasn't already going to be sort of recycled or released back into the atmosphere. Next slide. In terms of actually registering a carbon project to get carbon credits from producing biochar, as we've heard, there's no Australian sort of method for that at the moment. which isn't the end of the world at the moment because there are international methods that we can use that are voluntary. And these schemes are pretty well recognised and have been in existence for probably as long as the Australian carbon market. So they're out there and yeah, they're usable. So the sad part about not having the Australian carbon method on biochar is that the Australian government can't sort of count that in our emissions reductions, but we can still do it for you guys on farm or for companies who are producing biochar. So there's a couple of different, schemes, and they each have a biochar method. The one Melissa is looking at using is the Puro Earth one. So they're, I think credits under that are currently selling for about $150 or $200 per credit, and each credit represents a tonne of atmospheric carbon dioxide that's not being emitted. At the moment, the Australian carbon credits are selling for about $50 a tonne, $40 a tonne. So that's like a fair price premium on that, and that could be just because biochar is such a permanent form of carbon that it's really attractive to buyers, or it could just be because that market's sort of available to the international markets, whereas the Australian carbon scheme, you can only sell them within Australia. Next slide. So quickly, if you were going to put a biochar facility on farm, or Western Murray was going to get one, or John's going to have one at North East Water, what are the steps to go through to register it, to get carbon credits from producing biochar? First, you have to choose your pyrolyzer, so choose your preferred technology or machine that you're going to use. Choose your preferred biochar carbon method, so you probably do a bit of an analysis to work out which one's going to suit your machine or suit your situation and give you the best return. Then you can apply to register a project. So you need to show that the activity is additional, so it's not something you were just going to do anyway. So the reason that you're doing the project, or that it's economically viable, is because of the revenue that you're getting from carbon credits. So that sort of ticks that box. And then it also your machine needs to meet EPA and any state regulations as well, so that's compliant with your laws. Then you get your pyrolyzer, start creating your biochar. You need to trace where it actually goes to and what it's used for. So that's because it can actually be used as a coal substitute. So obviously if it's just going into coal factory and being burnt, then it's not actually avoiding those emissions. But if someone's using it in an agricultural setting, then that's obviously staying in the soil pretty permanently. And then you measure and claim your carbon credits to use. So you can sell them for $200 a tonne potentially. You can retain them and keep them on your sort of books as a cash flow option in the future, or you can retire them and offset them against your own carbon emissions if that's a commercially attractive option. Next slide. So we've heard a little bit about some of the different facilities. You can literally do it in a pit in the ground. I have no idea what that looks like and how effective it is. There's a couple of sort of small scale on-farm kiln options. There's sort of mobile options that are becoming more available, and then your sort of big commercial production opportunities. Next slide. So how would we get this started, I suppose? So it's probably access to finance, access to partners, and access to sort of tech and research. So access to finance, there's a little bit around. Obviously doing a business case is pretty important, but there's a lot of green loans or sustainable finance that is available from the banks at the moment, especially at that bigger end of, bigger scale. Can be a bit hard when you're going for small loans, but at the big scale, they're generally more willing to sort of negotiate. As Melissa said, there's a few grants and government funding around.
There's a $2 million one out at the moment.
Yeah.
$2 million, which is the federal.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've got two that are coming up next, but that's good to have another one on there. And then also looking at, I guess, the potential revenue streams that you get from having that facility, what the payback time is and what that looks like going forward. In terms of access to partners, a lot of the people in this room are people that I guess as a farmer you should stay in contact with. We've got industry partners, people like Nice Rice or Rainbow Bee Eater, local and state government, so LLS, councils, North East Water as an example. We've got your sort of land care groups, so Western Murray, West Hume Land Care, so Rob's here from West Hume over in Burrumbuttock over east. I know Murrumbidgee are looking at doing some trials as well. And also with local farmers, so can you sort of band together and get that economy of scale by working together or getting a bit of a mobile unit or sort of working with what you have. And then access to tech and research. We've got Melissa from the Australian New Zealand Biochar Industry Group, so they have a heap of resources on their website. Universities, I know Charles Sturt is looking at doing some trials in the next sort of couple of years or some research, so staying keyed into your sort of groups will help you realise when opportunities come around. And then there's also a lot of scientific papers, online materials and research that's out there too. The next slide, here are 2 grants that are currently open, plus another circular economy one apparently. There's currently a carbon capture technologies program grant that's open, which is from $1 to $10 million.
No, that's it.
That's it, perfect. $1 to $10 million available. Does require a 50% co-contribution. That closes in a few weeks on the 6th of May. There's also another sort of smaller grant, which is a Cooperative Research Centres Projects grant that a couple of my CSU contacts were sort of showed me, but that could be one that might be a bit more appropriate. That's for between $100,000 to $3 million over 3 years. It's a short-term sort of research grant, but it can be used to design a product, service or process. So that could be something that could either get you a bit of funding to do a bit of a business case or feasibility, or could potentially be for on-ground action. And it's sort of designed for that small or medium-sized business. So with this one, biochar is literally one of the activities you can do under it, so definitely worth looking into if you can flurry to write a good grant proposal in a few weeks' time. And then this one, is sort of, I think, a biochar sort of facility or local economy thing could be a good activity to do under that. So yeah, they're your options. Apart from that, thanks from the LLS Ag team. My details are up there if you have any questions about carbon or any of that stuff. And we also have the rest of the Ag team who are wonderful and love sustainable ag production. So that's about it from me, and we'll pass over to Rog to hear what's happening.